Well, good evening and welcome to Dugan Memorial Field in Herculaneum, Missouri. Welcome to Friday Night Blitz on Livestream STL. The Herculaneum Black Hats are hosting the Grandview Eagles. Interesting matchup here today with the Herculaneum Black Hats 0-5. Grandview coming in 3-2. A little bit of a roll here, Scott, and should be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's every Friday is an opportunity, and this one's no different. But Grandview, they play hard. I mean, their kids, you're going to see them on film. They play exceptionally hard, and they got some good athletes. They got some good linemen as well. So they have some kids and some players that if they go hard, they're going to be hard to deal with.
Handoff, cuts inside. Pay dirt.
Yep.
Boom, number 26 right there. Luke Bryce with the first score of the game.
A good drive for Bryce. He's definitely found a groove on that left side. Credit left side of the line, too, getting a real push.
The only score of Herculaneum early in the first quarter, and but it's been a slugfest ever since.
Yeah, no, it really has. We talked about earlier, just the team that makes the least amount of mistakes is going to win this game, and that sounds obvious, but it really is a game of keeping the ball off the ground.
First down.
To him again.
And
nope.
Pitch play. Poole, he's got ahead of steam. He's going to get to the end zone. Touchdown, Grandview.
There we go.
16-yard run for Poole.
Yeah, we got a ball game now, folks, and that's exactly what we were talking about. Like, we believe in what we do. That's the same play they've been running all night. Just that.
Handoff is to Walker, and
there he is. Walks right
just
in.
Waltzes in. 3-yard touchdown for Walker.
Yep.
Are they supposed to do that on the road?
Walker walks right into the end zone there.
So Isaac Walker, the junior, untouched into the end zone. He is in the backfield, and they will hand it to him again, and he will again burrow down and get the 2-point conversion. Grandview kneels down, and that should be the ball game.
Yep, that'd be it.
I hear the cowbells going, and I see that visiting sideline celebrating, rejoicing. It was a hard-fought victory for Grandview, but you got to give credit to the Herculaneum Black Cats. They fought hard. They just didn't take care of the ball tonight.
Yeah, no, their backs were against the wall. Their defense was against the wall for a lot of that third quarter, and they held strong. You know, when you give up that kind of field position, it's really hard to keep the other team out of the end zone. But they certainly didn't give up the score, 14-7. It could have been even worse. You know, I know that's not what they want to hear, but you know, they fought hard to the end.
Well, good Monday to everyone here. Ray Halbrook here from Livestream STL. Welcome to Upon Further Review, where we recap this week's Friday night games. We will be crowning a Player of the Week, some honorable mentions. We'll talk about games next week as well, and maybe some bold predictions here. And we will bring in right now our panel of discussees, I should say here. Matt Bates in the middle there, and we've got Brian Kaplinger stepping in for Jeff Whitener here. Guys, how's it going?
Going great. Glad to have B-Caps on board. You know, bringing in a newbie for a week, break him in a little bit. Welcome to the club, amigo.
Yeah, I mean, tough shoes to fill. You put me in the spot of Jeff, and he knows it all. And so I feel the weight already just sitting across.
There's no pressure there, Caps. No pressure at all. So, well, we're going to get rolling here. And this is our Week 6 results here. And we'll roll through them here real quick. Grandview defeats Herculaneum 14-7. Festus defeats North County 31-0. Eureka 36, Summit 7. Hillsboro 64, Windsor 24, DeSoto 45, Fredericktown 20, Perryville 42, Jefferson 36, St. Vincent 56, Bayless 21, St. Pius X 27, Cuba 14, Fox 49, Northwest 7, Sackman 27, and Pattonville 13. And rounding things out, Crystal City takes care of business there against Roosevelt 22-20. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Grandview Herculaneum game here, guys. And I was on the producing part of that whole thing, but an interesting game. But I just want to kind of get you guys' thoughts here. We're going to start with I say Jeff. Jeff's not here. We're going to start with Matthew.
Herky was up 7-0 at half on this, and really, as it went on, this eerily reminded me of the Windsor game they had in week 1, where they were up at halftime and just couldn't figure out how to seal the deal. I mean, they're at least if you look at just up to halftime, Herky has 2 wins if they could just figure out how to close things out. Great job, tough sledding for Luke Bryce. 19 carries, 88 yards. I mean, he had 88 of the team's 123, had a TD, 9 tackles. But you look at the way the Eagles flipped the script after Keim was just kind of held at bay. They had 228 on the ground, but they bring big Isaac Walker in. They flip him from the center position, bring him in at running back, reels off 92 yards. He got half of that, 46 yards on 1 carry, but he scores a key TD, gets a 2-point conversion. But it was that Eagles D that, the 4 fumble recoveries, but it was the big INT by Byers late in the third quarter to set up that second and all crucial touchdown for Grandview. So, this was just kind of like, the Eagles just get out of there. They chalk it up as a win because, there's not a category for beauty marks. They got the win and they move on. Another weekend, Herky's still stuck on a donut for the year.
Yeah, interesting situation over there at Herky. I got a chance to talk to Blaine Boss. Have you put your finger on that whole thing? He said, we're just still, I think, a little shell shocked from that first week. And, as a whole and as a group, the Herky Blackcats, they've got to be able to rally and say, you know what, we've got to put that in our rearview mirror already, and it's a new day. And I really thought like they were going to be doing that. It sure looked like that for most of the game Friday night. Unfortunately, late there was a lot of turnovers, and those turnovers turned into points, unfortunately. So, I was like you, Matt. There was a huge thought of, hey, now we're starting to look like the guys that were in that first week against Windsor, and they played outstanding that first week. So I really felt like, hey, maybe it's time to get the monkey off their back, but unfortunately, let it slip late, and they got to go back to the drawing board again here. Caps, your thoughts?
Yeah, just kind of reviewing the game. You said it both of you said it best. Really turnovers got the best of Herculaneum. I really thought this was their game, especially early on, and watching it, it seemed like they were building a little bit. You talk about just some of the plays they were able to make, but it just seemed like they couldn't capitalize when they would have a big play. They'd either have an unforced error that kind of pushed them back, or this Grandview defense would just step up and get that turnover, and it just kind of ruined all momentum. And Matt, you hit on it. You talk about Isaac Walker coming into the game and just really kind of becoming that difference maker, especially after the big play and the continued running that he put in. I don't think really anybody saw that coming out of, kind of the left field marker there for him to step in and just be that big of a statement, and maybe kind of like the turning point for Grandview.
Yeah,
that was a big man they brought in.
Yeah.
I get it. Anytime you bring a lineman in, but good golly.
Yeah, definitely. That was the adjustment in the second half that paid big dividends there for Coach Kimmenaugh there and the Grandview Eagles.
For us, our game plan is to not be too cute, to run our offense, play our defense. North County, watching them on film previously, is a very dangerous team. You look at those guys in their matchup against Hillsborough, they had a lot of moments. They got after them pretty early. They ran the ball well. They were physical. Their kids play really hard. Just from experience, I know Coach Jones will have a great plan for us, and he'll have some wrinkles that'll challenge us. And so for us, the biggest thing is to not have a letdown, is to recognize that, we're playing a really tough opponent.
Fresh set of downs from the 35. Shotgun snap back. Smith's going to air it out. Goes to deep. Has his man Lacey. Lacey, touchdown. Give him 6. 35-yard TD pass from Smith to Lacey. Had the one-on-one coverage be spotted at the 19, so call it a 29-yard field goal right now out of the hole to Perry. It's down, it's up, and that is good. That is a 29-yard field goal by Wacker. Bulldozer in, and they give it to him. Can you stop him? You can't. Give him 6 from the 1-yard line. With 4:42 left to go until halftime, Shermer with a 1-yard TD run. What you saw in the first half was what I usually call like death by 1,000 cuts.
Big
a slow, methodical, Festus Tiger offense that kind of just seemed to, I don't want to say they were playing or toying with them, but they were kind of just having their way with them. North County, gives Festus the ball at the 28-yard line. I mean, you can't give that high-powered offense that to work with, but that's a result of the fumble on the sack. Then you have Shermer with a pickoff. You have Avery Edwards with an INT, and the more we keep talking about that, what you're finding out is North County turning the ball over 3 times. One led to a field goal. So, I mean, right now, just him alone, Luke Wacker has more points with his 5 than what the whole North County Raider offense has collectively on their own side of the ball. So here's Perry back at his goal line, waits the snap. Ellis, one shot. Here it is. Here's Lacey, catches it in stride out to the 40, 45, 50. He breaks out of it. He is going to go all the way 95 yards. Give him 6.
Unbelievable.
Parker Perry, 1 pass, 1 completion, 95 yards, 1 TD. And it looks like they're set on Williams getting this one, and they give it to him. He dives in and give him 6. With 5:50 left to go, that'll be Williams with a 1-yard TD run, and that will be the ball game. Homecoming night at Tiger Stadium. That is the Festus Tigers 31, the North County Raiders 0.
Let's move on to the next game here, and that is going to be the North County Festus game. Festus 31, North County nothing. Matthew, you were on the call, so I'm just going to turn it over to you. Well,
again, one of those things that we talk about, like if you would have told me that Festus was going to pitch a shutout, I would have said it probably would have been like a 10-0 ball game, something like that. But to see him throw 31-0 up on North County was a huge statement. Festus goes to 6-0. We talk about week in, week out how defense wins ball games, and Mason Shermer did all of that and then some. 13 tackles, a quarterback sack, an INT, and I also list a QB knockout, even though it wasn't credited as a tackle. McClure was done after the hit by Shermer, just flat out trucked him. He also had a rushing TD. Festus, able to air the ball out. Parker Perry hits Trey Lacey for a 95-yard TD, but combined with Essien Smith, Trey Lacey, 3 catches, 144 yards, 2 TDs. And as I have talked about week in, week out, along with Jeff, the Tiger O-line and their D-line play, Raiders just got whipped on both sides of the ball. And like I was talking to Beak about during the broadcast, there's times you get beat and you feel like you've been more like in a track meet as opposed to almost like a football game. I got to tell you, when North County hit the bus, they probably couldn't wait to hit the hot tub or the ice bath because you got pounded every play. Shermer just imposed his will, and you definitely felt like you got beat 31-0.
Yeah, crazy stuff here. You want to weigh in on that there, Caps?
Well, again, not to kind of beat a dead horse, but you talk about Shermer and that defense. When I was watching the game and the replay, that's all I could notice was that front line, the D line for Festus, and then Shermer just really making plays all over the field. For him to get the interception, the number of tackles, he had a sack early on. Again, I'm impressed. Not that I thought Festus was going to be, bad or off. I thought they were going to be a very good team, but this defense is really kind of setting that tone for the team. And then you talk about Smith and some of the guys on the offensive side. they're able to just kind of relax and do what they need to do and running the ball and then sporadically throwing in that pass. And it really does change the dynamic for Festus. I think, at least for this year, a little bit of the changing of the guard from Hillsboro to Festus because of that defense.
Yeah, I really think the attitude this season has been, very much just very businesslike, so to speak. We know what we can do. We know what we're planning on doing. And it's just a matter of going out and executing it. And they're doing that this year as to previous seasons. The unfortunate part about, that is what would have looked like the last couple, 3 years. You take a look at especially that last game last season with Hillsboro that went down to the wire. And, if you have the type of mentality this season, I think you get over the hump last year instead of this year. So kudos to the Festus Tigers there.
Good evening and welcome to Friday Night Blitz. We are here at Eureka High School in Eureka, Missouri, where the Eureka Wildcats will be hosting Rockwood Summit Falcons. Brian Kaplinger alongside Todd Schumacher in the booth. And so, Todd, what are you thinking for tonight's game?
Well, yeah, we talked about in the pregame about this being a revenge contest. Rockwood upset Eureka, or actually Eureka upset Rockwood last year in the district final, and that snapped the 10-0 record that the Falcons had.
I mean, this is going to be a great game. Anytime we play another Rockwood school, there's always a little edge about the game. And, Summit having a great season right now. Good football team. They're coached up very well. Coming here after our last meetup last year, we know we're going to get a pretty focused and motivated Summit football team. So, the message for our guys all week is just going out there and rising up and continuing to elevate our play and be focused and detailed in the things that we got to do to go handle our business. And, we've had a good practice yesterday, and just hoping today we continue to do that and polish off those things that we need to fix and come out and play with the same type of energy and composure and grit that we played last week and just go do what we need to do.
Coben Barton in the backfield. He gets the ball, pushes ahead, meets a host of Wildcats.
Oh,
and now
the
drop of the ball. And taking the ball all the way to the other side. Will it count? And he scoops in for the touchdown. It's John Berry, the linebacker. He gets the 6 points here.
Just flat out stripped the running back there and was off to the races, as I don't think Summit really knew what was taking place. And you're kind of hoping maybe the same for tonight.
Man motion now. Looking to throw over the middle. He connects with Ringy. He's going to go in for 6. And just like that, 2 touchdowns in about a minute span for Eureka. They lead 13-0. Motion is Giannino. Snap. Handoff is to Kodak. Gets up through, breaks through, and he's going to go in for the touchdown. 30 yards. And getting back up on the board for Eureka, Trevor Kodak, and gives them a 20-0 lead.
Ended up holding it here. They need to find a way into the end zone here. The Falcons do.
Jackson and Bell set to the left. Branscombe, now he's going to throw right. Puts it up. Can he hit his receiver in the corner? And it is. It's a touchdown. A connection of 19 yards. Nice snap. Handoff to Kodak. He's got it this time. Barges through the middle, and he might go. All the way down to the 10, and he gets in. 43-yard touchdown run for Trevor Kodak. And it's blocked. Will it stay in bounds for the Falcons? There's someone to cover, and it goes. Yes, it's a safety for the Wildcats. So not only do they get a pair of sacks on this drive, they finish it off with a pair of points, blocking the Warfel punt. Holman, play action. Over the middle and wide open is Craig Ringy from 15 yards out. He gets his second touchdown of the game, and the Wildcats are up 35-7. Yeah, you're seeing really at all facets too. We're talking right before the halftime that over the past 4 games, the Eureka defense has only allowed 2 touchdowns. One of those by the Summit Falcons early in the second quarter. But they hit you from all angles as Barry stripped the ball, ran 80 yards halfway through the first quarter. And then they're going to hit you with Trevor Kodak. They're going to go to the air. They have mixed it up as Ringy is, like we say, always doing everything. Catching the ball, kicking the ball, bunting the ball. So they just bring so much at you. I think the Falcons came in thinking, hey, we've got this high-octane offense. But you have to remember you're going up against that Eureka defense that is really, really tough.
Let's move into our next game here. That is going to be the Eureka Summit game. Brian Kaplinger, you were on the call, along with Todd Schumacher. I was trying to remember Todd's last name for some crazy reason. It's early this morning. So Todd, man, we've been loving having Todd jump in there. I'm sure he makes the job over there a little bit easier there, Brian. So go ahead and give us the update on that game over there at Eureka.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this game on paper was going to be a really, really close game. I thought that Summit was going to be able to do enough on offense to really just kind of keep the offense and, you talk about Trevor Kodak off the field a little bit, but it was just the reverse. I mean, you talk about, again, Barry's just basically pick, fumble 6 right out of the gates. I mean, Summit just was marching down the field, got in the red zone, and you talk about a game-changing play early on, the 79, 80-yard fumble return to the house for Barry. It just stunned Summit, and I don't know that they were ever able to recover from that, because right after that, they're able to hit Ringy for a touchdown, and then it was Kodak rushing for a touchdown, and the Summit offense was 3 and out, and it just was like they were stunned, and it was 21-0 before anything really took place. I mean, this game was essentially, you could have the feel in the stadium. It was over at halftime because the score was already 36-7, and it never changed in the second half because basically Eureka said, we're going to put our second string in and just kind of pound the ball up the middle. And so what impressed me was really, I mean, you're still talking about over 100 yards rushing for Kodak, and that's really all just the first half. That's not even really a second half performance from him. You talk about Ringy, and again, we keep bringing his name up. He's just a do-it-all. Yeah. He returns kicks. He does the extra points. He's a tight end, halfback type of set for them. He'll even make an appearance occasionally on defense if needed. And I think what you're seeing from Eureka is kind of the same thing we're talking about with Festus. This defense just sets the tone, and it takes all the pressure off the offense. And then you add in, after all of that, someone like the quarterback in Casey Hobelman, who is just smart with the ball. He doesn't turn it over. They're not overly aggressive with him, but he just seems to make the right read at the right time. And because of that, they're just outscoring opponents. And again, this defense only giving up, I think, like 6.5 points, maybe a little more than that a game right now. And it's fun to watch because it goes to the trenches. I mean, right. You talk about the offensive line. I think the smallest guy they may have on the offensive line is like 6'2", 280. Wow. And it's the same on the defensive side. And so they're just a handful for teams.
Yeah. What has impressed me about this whole thing with, with Eureka, and I'm sorry I jumped in on you here, Matt, was we've talked about this at the beginning of the season this year with DeSoto with football IQ. Football IQ is not even a negotiable over at Eureka. You either have it or you're not playing, and it's one of those things that again, I'm impressed as well. Just the well-oiled machine that Eureka can be year in and year out in the few years that we've actually covered them here. The bar is raised extremely high, but they never come off of it either. And so, with that all being said, when something does maybe kind of break down, they've got one, two, maybe three guys that can step right in there and, not even miss a beat. So that goes back to football IQ. If you're teaching football IQ at a young age, all of this is just, it all kind of comes back together anyway, because you don't have to really reteach much. So that's a huge plus. So if you're out there as a football coach or even a player, this is what you talk about being a good team. You have to have the IQ. You have to know what to do in certain situations, and they know how to do it. I got a chance to watch that strip sack basically run to the house. That was impressive. I mean,
Right.
who was it that did that?
That was Barry.
Okay.
It's John Barry on the list. I think they even call him Jack Barry.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that it wasn't even a tackle, he literally just went in and basically ripped the ball out of the hands of the running back. And it, like I said, nobody knew it on the offensive side until he was already 15, 20 yards away from him,
Right.
taking it to the house.
Yeah. Matt, your thoughts?
Well, it's all been covered. I mean, Kodak's now 10th in the area in rushing. You look at the 2 TDs by Ringy. The young man's got 9 receptions this year, and 5 of those have been for touchdowns.
Yeah, that's insane.
McCollum, Ashby, McMillan. I mean, on the D, I mean, they just impose their will. And again, I like the tallest domino on that offensive line, that Jack Lang. I'm telling you right now. But again, when you get to that bigger boy football and 90% of the players, say for Eureka, only play one way, that goes back to that football IQ where all you've got to do, like if you're Lang, all I got to do is focus on being a right tackle. And how do I just don't need to do my job well. I need to do my job great. And when you have everybody that plays into that, where they don't have to think about, okay, I jumped off sides or a false start on offense. Now I got to flip over on defense. And you're still thinking about what you've done on the other side of the ball. That, I mean, if I had one thing to worry about just at the center position, I mean, I love playing like virtually the whole game, but if I just had one side of the ball to focus on, yeah, it would have made a world of difference in my game as well too. And you see that going into these larger programs. So Eureka just keeps the train going.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best, Ray, earlier. I mean, they have worked out a tremendous program, not only at the high school level, but in the lower levels. They're training these young kids in the systems. And I mean, now, obviously, don't get me wrong, it takes athletes to produce in that system, and they have that. But they're doing a good job. And Coach Sumner and the team there at Eureka, they're teaching it well, and they're putting players in the right spots to succeed. And to your point, Matt, it is nice. You've got a big school you're able to pull from. You're not asking too much of a young athlete at this point. But with that, I mean, what they're able to churn out is why they just continue to have success. Even when they're a little off, they're still a very dangerous team. And then when you see they're all moving and flowing together, that's when you start to see a season like this season for them.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at some of the other games here real quick. Maybe give you guys a couple, 3 to maybe hone in on here. Obviously the Hillsboro-Windsor game is a big game there for Hillsboro, kind of having that breakout game. But Matt, we'll start with you on maybe 1 or 2 games here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just move right along. The Hillsboro at Windsor game, the score kind of, surprised me on that. But, a 40-point win by the Hawks. But both teams, rarely do you ever hear us say something like, both teams are now 3-3 this late in the season. I got to give a tip of the hat to Logan Wilson up there at Windsor again. We talk about Kodak being 10th in the area in rushing. Logan Wilson's 14th. He's just a yard shy of 700 on the year, but in the last 3 games alone, he has 450 yards of rushing. Preston Brown, I mean, what a game. 6 rushes, 105, 3 TDs. The thing that stuck out to me was the 10 of 12 passing for 358, the 4 TDs, no INTs. And really, I think just to say, it's about time we had seen a game like that from him. It kind of had a modest year so far, and it just seemed to be everything was just either a tick off with the receivers or it was a tick off with the pass. And just couldn't seem to get the ball rolling. And to see a game like this where, 10 completions and you're averaging almost 36 yards a shot, great job. But one thing to go unnoticed, Caleb Arnold, 8 extra points, 8 PATs. He scored more points than Herky did, than North County did, than Northwest, and what Summit did. One guy scored more points than just 4 teams across the board. Great job by Caleb Arnold just to make sure he connects and puts the ball through the pipes when he's supposed to.
I know that I know that Dad will probably be really happy about that. Tim Arnold is the PA announcer out there at Hillsboro as well. So proud papa moment there for Mr. Tim, I'm sure.
The DeSoto 45-20 over Fredericktown. They got the ball rolling as well too. So you got DeSoto, Windsor, Hillsboro, all 3-3, all fighting for that juicy bit of that apple. Eli Tebow, a 33-yard fumble return and a 2-point conversion. Our player of the week last week, Brenton Drummond, did his thing again, two TDs. And this was, a 16-13 Dragon lead at half. And just like they did last week against Windsor, they just turned it on in the second half. And my hot take last week was possibly Perryville sneaking up on Jefferson, and they did just that. 2 words, Barrett Wheeler.
Yeah.
Caps, back to you.
Yeah, I was going to say my key game was that Perryville Jefferson, not just because I'm sitting in Jeff's seat today, but what an offensive game. But you said it best in Barrett Wheeler. I mean, 260 plus yards in the game. And then you flip it to the other side and you talk about Cooper Frisk and what he's able to do, not only with his legs, but his arm as well. I don't want to say it was a bit of a shock. Both teams coming in were playing really, really well. I thought Jefferson kind of had the edge just because they were at home, but you got to give a lot of credit to this Perryville team. I mean, they came in, made a statement, and just said, this is our division. This is our time to really kind of shine. And I think what you saw from Barrett Wheeler, again, it's just unbelievable. Anytime you can pick up 100 yards rushing in a game is one thing. When you're starting to hit that 200, 250 mark, like that's an exceptional day at the office.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, when you're hitting 100 plus yards and you're getting it like maybe on 10 carries as opposed to 30,
right.
I mean, you can run the ball 40 times as long as you're getting 2 yards a shot. You're getting close, but when you're only racking off 10, 11 carries and you're over the 150 yard mark, that is just that is impressive.
Yeah, the only other thought I had was the Seckman-Pattonville game. I just thought Seckman's offense was going to be a little bit more potent than it showed in this game. And not to take anything away from them. They played well, they won, and I still think they're the top team there. But when you talk about, only scoring really 27 points when they've been so dominant. I mean, now granted, you talk about Kubi, he's been lights out all year. I guess I expected a little bit more through the air. I expected a little bit more of a show from him to a degree, and it just didn't happen in this game. And so I wonder if they just kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. And so that's another team I'm just kind of watching, because I'm hoping that this isn't the case, because they've been a great team to watch all year, but they're kind of starting to hit that like mid to late season little bit of drag, because they've kind of dominated in almost every game they've been in up until this point.
Well, historically, Seckman's not going to kill you with the passing game. I was a little surprised to see Kubi. I mean, the 6-7 is about typical Seckman football, but the 6 for 156 and 211 on the team rush. I mean, rarely will you ever see Seckman even rack up half the passing yards of what they will for a total rush. So if you've got 6-7 for like 52 yards, that's pretty good for a Seckman quarterback. But 6 completions, 156, 2 TDs. Chance Rubel, the Rubel Rumble, doing what he didn't see Brady Ambrose. So I'm not sure if he had just a week off, was hurt. And I know the stats are a little hard to report because you can't report half sacks. But when I saw the 8 sacks on D and 3 credited to Lappy and Steinhardt each, because doing the Festus game that Pinkston and Gardner each had a half sack per se on that one that caused the fumble. But when you look at some of the stats, they're each credited with a sack. But best case scenario, I mean, you're still talking, if you cut that in half, 4 sacks on defense.
Right.
That's making it tough on Pattonville. And that Seckman D, honestly, I think they're like in the same boat as like the Eureka D. But Eureka's defense, though, just because Seckman, year in, year out, I mean, when you had the Minister of Defense, Dean Meckel, back there last year, you know, the middle linebacker will set the tone and the pace for like these bigger programs. And you see the same thing, not only just with Seckman and like your Dominic Lagrassos and Dylan Lappies, but you see it up there with Eureka as well, too. And, you know, and as they say, you know, games are won on defense, and you see that trickle down to Mason Shermer at Festus.
Right.
It is now time for our Player of the Week, our Upon Further Review UFR Player of the Week, and it is none other than Preston Brown from the Hillsboro Hawks. Preston, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Hey, you had a pretty good night at the office Friday night here. You ran for over 100 yards on 6 carries. Also, you had 358 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 477 yards total. Yeah, you had a pretty good day against Windsor with a 64-24 win there. Take us through the game and just give us your thoughts on the game as a whole.
I thought it went pretty good. I think on the defense we could have been a little bit tighter. You know, that's the kind of their offense, though, is just kind of catch you sleeping and throwing over the top, which was their first one. But our offense was pretty solid through the night. I think we were blocking. I knew that's what we needed to work on, and you know, running routes better and just being all on the same page whenever we're doing everything. So I thought it was pretty good, connecting on most of the throws we need to connect on.
Absolutely. Getting back to the winning ways. And, you know, I know you guys probably disappointed with a couple of these losses here, but you played some really good teams. You know, as far as strength of schedule, it's pretty high. You know, even though you took a couple of lumps here, how's the team taken this season so far, even though it seems to me like things are really kind of, you know, the ship's kind of getting righted right now. So your things are starting to come together and putting a string of wins together here now.
I don't think we're taking it bad. I think we definitely are starting out slow in the beginning of the season. Now we're getting a lot better into the groove of it, but I think we still need to start off better of most games that we're playing right now, and just kind of grow each week. Right now, we need to just play one full game, just play one good full game, and that's about it right now.
Yeah. This is a question we didn't even brief you on here, but I just thought of this. You know, what has the adjustment been like? You know, obviously you lose some seniors from last season, you know, on that state championship run. You know, as far as like the adjustments are concerned, you know, obviously you got to plug and play who it's the next guy up, but has that adjustment been different this year from years past?
Yeah, it's definitely been different. I think, you know, we relied a lot on Peyton whenever we needed some big things and me, but now it's kind of just me, and we got other guys helping us out like Chris and Aiden. But we kind of are relying. Last year we relied a lot on him and our linemen. So this year we're gotta make our own people to do it for us. You know, just believe in us and be able to do it, and that's kind of it.
Absolutely. You've got DeSoto this week. You know, they have gotten to be a lot better team, you know, as they've gone along. So I mean, it's one of those things you don't want to take that for granted. But has Coach given you very much to talk about so far?
No, not yet. We usually do our Monday film session, so that'll be tomorrow. But we definitely know they're better than they have been a little bit these past couple of years. So we're definitely not going to take them for granted.
Absolutely. Well, you are a Player of the Week. Congratulations, and good luck to you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate the interview.
Appreciate it. Hey, that's Preston Brown from the Hillsboro Hawks. It is now time for our Player of the Week, part two because we had our first one earlier. Here, part two. We've got Craig Ringy on the line here from the Eureka Wildcats. Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome. Let me read off the stats this week for Mr. Ringy. This has been 2 or 3 weeks in a row where you've just really have had some really cool performances here. 4 receptions, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the most important part, he's our kicker here. He's the X-point kicker. You had 4 PATs, and I know you had a few in the game with Kirkwood as well. So it is more important to have the point after the attempt good than catching the touchdown, right?
Of course.
That's right. Every kicker is going to ask that or going to answer that way. So I love it. Craig, give us maybe just a little insight on how the game went Friday night.
We dominated them out the gate. They were playing hard, but we kind of ran it up their throats and then kind of opened up the passing game for us. So that's where we hit on my 2 touchdowns, and Trevor had 2 great touchdowns, and we dominated.
And certainly did, because I was watching the games in between the game that we were covering, and we're about halfway through the first quarter. You guys are up 21-0 already, and I'm like, man, they're doing something right over there. So
yes,
great first half performance, because you didn't have to put any points on the board at all second half, and just took care of business. But tell us a little bit about this season. Seems like another one of these magical seasons for the Eureka Wildcats. What is it that keeps you guys focused each week and keeps that successful mentality going?
I think it's the fact that we're really playing together a lot better. We just play for each other, and we pick each other up every time something goes wrong. Because obviously in a football game, nothing's going to be perfect. You're going to miss on a play, and you just got to let your guy pick you up. And that's kind of what I think we've been doing really good this year, is bouncing back after a misplay or missed block or a drop pass and just moving on and going to the next play.
Absolutely. Love it. You've got the Lafayette Lancers coming this week, or actually you're taking the trip to their place, and they're rolling pretty good as well. So tell us a little bit about maybe a game plan that Coach is talking to you guys about.
I think we're just going to be doing the same stuff we've been doing, going out there, playing hard, dominating people in the run game, and then just see how it goes.
Absolutely. Well, man, we appreciate the time catching up with you, and congrats on being Player of the Week.
Thank you.
This is Craig Ringy from the Eureka Wildcats. It is now time for our honorable mention segments, and they are as follows. We have Eureka's Trevor Kodak, 11 rushes, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Festus's Mason Shermer, we've talked about him a little bit here, 13 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, 1 touchdown on the night, along with his good friend there from Festus, Trey Lacey, 3 receptions, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Seckman's Brody Kuby, 6 of 7 for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. Still not a bad job at the office there. And again, 3 weeks in a row, we've had these guys here. Jefferson's Cooper Frisk, 19 rushes, 131 yards, 192 yards passing, and 2 touchdowns. Jefferson's Landon Weiss, 3 touchdowns on the night, 2 rushes and 1 receiving. So we're starting to fill up these honorable mentions quite a bit here, guys. So let's start with caps on some of these guys. I know you'll probably mention the Trevor Kodak since you cover him almost every week. So take it away, man.
Yeah, again, Kodak is having a special year. To just kind of put it in perspective too, the young man's a junior, so you're going to get to see him again. And that's the first half numbers. Like I said, you did not see him in the second half. They gave the carries to Gustafson and their sophomore running back Webb in the second half just to kind of salt away that game. And so what he's been able to do is fun. He's a big young man. He's 6'1", about 200 pounds, 210-ish mark, but he has deceptive speed and quickness. And so when you watch him run the ball, not only is he a bowling ball, but once he gets to the second level of defense, he can just outrun most of your DBs and secondary players. And that's what's allowing him to pick up chunk yards at times. And then you talk about Mason Shermer. I mean, what a game. 13 tackles, a sack, an interception. He's got the rushing touchdown there as well. You know, all these young men on the list, I mean, they're there for a reason, but those two just really stood out in the week one because I saw Kodak. I've seen him multiple times. But then, you know, I'm paying close attention again to this Festus team and what they're able to do on the defensive side of the ball.
Matthew.
I agree. The thing that just shocks me, and I know Caps sees them up close and personal because I've seen Lang before, saw him last year, and he's like a human eclipse. But when you're walking around in you know, like if you were untrained on the Eureka roster, and somebody was to point out to you like, hey, there's, you know, where's Trevor Kodak? Oh, he just walked by you. He is. I guess because there are just so many redwood trees that are like 6'7", 6'8" on that Eureka team, where when you see Kodak, you're just kind of like, you're like, you know, with the numbers he puts up, you would expect to see like somebody a little bigger, but that gets lost because the kid's like 6'1". He's built like nobody's business, but he's just very unassuming. And then once he puts on, you know, his Trevor Kodak moments, I mean, he's quite a force to be reckoned with. And, you know, I agree with you too. Watching this Festus team week in, week out now, Shermer, again, and I said it last week that, you know, even his ability to pick up a blitz when he's put on the offensive side of the ball, he can rush, but he rushes the ball like the same way he returns a ball when he intercepts it. There's no difference. He's looking to run over and run through you. He's not looking to really run around you. And when he does, it's damage. That's about the best word I can use to describe it, is just he is looking to put a mean hit on you. And I don't know if I said it during the broadcast or if we were on the postgame show, but I know I was telling Beak, like Dick Butkus, that is who he reminds me of, where, you know, you might be losing a game, but his momentum, his defensive ability to keep you in the ball game, it can't go unnoticed. And again, Kubi, great week, and that dynamic duo down there at Jefferson still doing what they do down there, and you know, Cooper getting frisky and Weiss doing their thing. That, you know, again, to make a list in a losing effort, you know, great job by Jefferson down there to keep doing what they do, and they got their work cut out for them as well.
I've got the early bold prediction here. One of those two guys are going to end up with the player of the week next week. There you go. Putting it out there. They've got Grandview. So things that look good, you know, and no disrespect to Grandview there, but, you know, I got a feeling there could be a breakout game for one of those two guys there next week at Grandview. So there you have it. There you are. It is now time to take a look at our Week 7 schedule, and it is as follows. DeSmet at Festus. I'll have that game over there for our live stream STL game of the week. Game of the week number 2, Jefferson at Grandview. That'll be Matthew's game there. And then Eureka at Lafayette. That'll be Brian's game over there. Other games will be Hillsboro at DeSoto, Windsor at North County, Bayless at Herculaneum, Cuba at St. Vincent, Perryville is at Alton Marquette, Miller Career Academy at St. Pius X, Lindbergh at Fox, Parkway South at Seckman, and Hazelwood West is at Northwest. So, guys, we are going to jump in here right now and, you know, take a look at our previewed games here for this week here. DeSmet at Festus, Jefferson at Grandview, and Eureka at Lafayette. Let's start with Matt.
Well, honestly, I like this trifecta we've got again this week. I mean, as they say, we got the best of not just both worlds, but the best of three worlds. I mean, really the one sticking out right now is that 5-1 DeSmet traveling to Festus at 6-0. DeSmet, they beat MICDS 28-6 earlier this year, but MICDS is also a team that beat Hillsboro 21-14. DeSmet, they beat SLU 23-3, and SLU was also a team that beat Hillsboro 24-17. So just to tie some of the local teams in that DeSmet has beaten, and teams that Hillsboro has lost to. So this DeSmet team coming in is not going to be taken, or should not be taken lightly in any capacity. But as I said last week, that this is a Festus team that I think if they want to put 60 up on a team, they can do that. If they want to put 15 points up on a team, they can do that. But don't sleep on DeSmet. Their quarterback, Dylan Duff, number 12 in the area in yards, 6 in QB rating. 1,130 plus yards on the season. That can't go unnoticed. They got a kid at running back, a kid named Cam Sharp, reminds me of Cam Yates, at least just with his stats. He only has 9 carries on the year, gentlemen. 151 yards, 3 TDs. That's like a 17-yard average per rush. So this is a team that punches and bunches too. So this is going to be one of those games that if it ends up like 14-7, won't be a shocker. But if it turns into a track meet, won't surprise me either.
There you go. I like the Jefferson Grandview matchup there. You know, Grandview definitely on the uptick this year. But, you know, Jefferson as well, you know, flying high. And even though they lost this past week to a pretty good Perryville team who's now 5-1, they haven't been 5-1 for quite a while. So, you know, taking a look at that matchup with Grandview, I think it bodes well for the Jefferson Blue Jays to, you know, maybe air out that aerial attack that they have from time to time. And man, I tell you what, just, you know, Cooper Frisk, man, he's a gunslinger sometimes back there, and he can get it done on the ground as well. So you got to always watch that. But, you know, Grandview struggled this week against Herky, and I'm not quite sure why that was. You know, maybe they overlooked some things, but, you know, had to make that adjustment second half. And you're not going to be able to do that against a Jefferson team that is good all 4 quarters. So I got my leaning a little bit towards the Jefferson Blue Jays on that particular game. And then we'll preview here for everybody the Eureka Lafayette game there. And I know if I was a fly on the wall, that'd be the game I'd want to be at. And so a little jealous up there for you there, Caps. So I'm going to give it to you to preview here.
Yeah, I mean, this one is, I'm a little giddy about this one, to be honest. I mean, you've got both teams that are almost mirror images of each other. Right now, at least statistically, Lafayette looks slightly better than Eureka. They're scoring a few more points. Their offense seems to be a little bit more dynamic. And their defense, believe it or not, is actually a touch better as far as the points they've given up. Some of the similar opponents that they've played, both Eureka and Lafayette, the point margin is the same. Both teams coming in 6-0. This is really going to determine that Suburban Yellow Conference section of who's really going to walk out with the title, I believe. And to me, this is the 3rd straight week that Eureka's facing a high-profile offense. And so that defense is going to be put to the test once again. And so I think the likes of McCullum and Funk and Ashby on that front defensive line are going to play big. Again, you're going to look for that play from a Barry, or even sitting on the back end, one of their DBs, maybe trying to find an interception or two. I think Eureka's offense is going to be Eureka's offense. But it's going to be a fun one to watch because, like I said, the Lancers defense, I think people are sleeping on all year. I don't think they expected to see this type of performance from their defense as well. And so it's going to be kind of that, you know, age-old, just let's put them in the boxing ring, take a bunch of slugs at each other, and see who's still standing at the end of this game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to weigh in on that game there, Matt?
Yeah, I'm jealous not to be on that call up there myself, but you know, but hey, we got a doozy with Grandview, Jefferson. Like I said, we got big games up and down.
Yes.
And, you know, and Caps, and I'll just be honest with you, I'm looking forward to seeing another replay of yours. I'm liking what's going on up there with Eureka, and you being the I guess unannounced home announcer for the Wildcats this year. Great job. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what happens with Eureka and Lafayette. I think when you look down the list, had I think had Cuba beaten St. Pius last week, I would have circled the Cuba St. Vincent game maybe a little bit more than what I will this week. That I think Cuba was, I think they just ran into a tough customer with St. Pius, but they're going to be hitting an undefeated St. Vincent team. So I'm curious as to how Jefferson responds. Again, yeah, Perryville just showed how tough they are. That was impressive to come back. Logan Wilson from the Owls, want to see what he does this week. That, again, he's another one that has flown under the radar. You look at the Hillsboro-DeSoto game, and yeah, Hillsboro, after this game, though, they have Chaminade, who's 3-3. They got Poplar Bluff, 2-4. It looks like the rest of the way here after, including the DeSoto game. This is, I think, kind of like the mentality that Coach Saharsky's been talking about where, I think this could be a couple weeks to get some health back on his team to where he can be about as healthy as he can going into districts. Because you look at Festus, they got the Smet, then they got 4-2 Farmington, 4-2 Jackson. And, I mean, Festus, they've had a tough schedule all year. So it just makes me wonder when they come to round one of districts, like how dip into their gas tank they're going to be. And of note, DeSoto, you look after this Hillsboro game, they've got Potosi and Herky left. DeSoto could get to 5 wins this year, potentially. Potosi's 2-4. They're having a tough time figuring things out. And Herculaneum, I think we've talked ad nauseum about the struggles they're having. But, Papa Tebow, he told Eli, hey, you guys get 5 wins, I'll shave the beard. And like I told Brett, I go, nobody messes with Papa Tebow's beard, and he's at risk of having this thing shaved off.
It's funny. He mentioned that last night on Facebook, I think it was, and I happened to come across that, and I'm like, oh boy, they're probably not going to beat Hillsboro this week, but there's a good chance they could run the rest of it and get to that 5-win, a 5-4 season from years past compared to, the last 2, 3, 4 years. Oh my goodness. One of the things that Papa Tebow, who I saw, that he said, people are the organization here is starting to catch what it's looking like, what it to be a winning team again. And, when you start getting that kind of excitement, you already start thinking about next season, and holy moly, watch out, So, I mean, for Coach Russ Schmidt to be able to, kind of turn things around about 2 to 3 years, that's what every coach, I'm sure, dreams about, as far as the length is concerned, because some it can be 5, 7, 8, 9 years before, you're able to really just completely retool a program. So kudos to DeSoto.
I was going to say this starts with Russ Schmidt, and then it just flows down from there. And whether you're a player or whether you're in the community, this whole bleeding green, it right. starts with him and what he's. And again, I think I even said it in week 1, week 2, making DeSoto relevant again. And like I said, when you look up and down now, Hillsboro, DeSoto, Windsor are both 3-3 right now. Take this Hillsboro week off, but then again, you got Potosi and Herculaneum. Again, very 2 winnable games, get you to 5. So I mean, take Herky, but make it 4. But still a 4-5 win year for DeSoto. I know last year we did not project talking about something like that coming into this season, but hey, look at you.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about this. When we interviewed him 2 years ago after he took over, he was more worried about the equipment, making sure that his kids were safe first, which that impressed me too, because it's like, okay, we'll just throw on regular old pads or whatever, but he's like, no. He's like, I'm making sure that my kids aren't hurt, and so I was just like, you can kind of tell the investment, that the type of investment person he is, and that he wants his team to be, well taken care of before they can even get out on the field to do anything, So another great testament there for Coach Schmidt. Let's do bold predictions. It's bold prediction time. I'm going to start with you, Matt. Give me your bold prediction on any of these games.
I don't know how bold it is, but I'm going to go Windsor over North County. Haven't seen North County a couple times. I don't want to say they're underrated. They're an explosive ball club. I'm not sure if McClure will be able to make it back, but I want to see how, Windsor responds. I know that, with the loss to DeSoto, and then they, got punched in the mouth by Hillsborough. I want to see how they respond against North County. I mean, it, again, may not be bold, but it's one that I want to see at the end of the day how Windsor responds to that one.
Matt, I see your strategery in all of this already. So go ahead there, Caps.
Again, I'm going to sound like a homer. And the boldness is not necessarily in the pick, but I think it's going to be this. I honestly think my pick will be that Eureka ends up pulling this out by 2 touchdowns or more.
Wow. Ooh.
Now, if they lose, they're going to hate me because it's going to be my fault. So
that's true. That's true. I get it. Yeah. Hey, that is a bold prediction there because Lafayette, they're no slouch,
right.
So I get it. And I've kind of already given my
UFR jinx.
The UFR jinx. Yeah. We're going to have coaches calling us now.
I was going to say, I won't be back on after this week if it's not true.
Oh man. We'll get calls here. Hey, stop doing the poll predictions. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm going by my bold prediction there for the Jefferson boys. One of those Jefferson boys are going to end up on our player of the week this week. It just depends on who has the better game. And I know Papa Frisk probably watches. He's probably watching right now too. Saying it better be Cooper. So we'll see how that goes. But that's my bold prediction there with Jefferson beating Grandview pretty easily. So yeah. Cabs, thanks for popping in and taking over for Jeffrey this week. We appreciate it.
Hey, enjoyed it. Thanks for having me anytime.
Yeah. All we've got for this week upon further review here, Matt. Get your sleep this week. You're going to have a good one there. And always fun to be in that booth up there at Grandview as well. So I'll brief you in on that a little bit. But anyway, for Ray Halbrook, for Matt Bates, and for Brian Kaplinger, all of us here at Livestream STL, and upon further review, have a great week. Thanks for watching today's broadcast. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without the express written consent of Livestream STL is strictly prohibited.